Hello everyone, welcome to online lesson. This is Zamir Abdullayev and topic of today's lesson is characteristics of different types of genres. Text analysis. Genre means a type of art, literature, or music characterized by a specific form, content, and style. For example, literature has 5 main genres. They are fiction, non-fiction, drama, poetry, and folk tale. All of these genres have particular features and functions that distinguish them from one another. Understanding the differences between various types of literature can be difficult. Today we'll get to know these 5 main genres in detail. The first one is fiction. Fiction, one of the most popular genres of literature, features imaginary characters and events. This genre is often broken up into 5 subgenres: fantasy, historical fiction, contemporary fiction, mystery, and science fiction. In fantasy, the characters or settings could not exist in the world as we know it because they require a sort of magical element. The Harry Potter and Twilight series are popular examples. Next one is non-fiction. Unlike fiction, non-fiction tells the story of real people and events. Examples include biographies, autobiographies, or memoirs. Another popular category of literature known as drama or play is a story created specifically for a stage performance. The most renowned author of drama was William Shakespeare, the writer of Macbeth, Hamlet, and Romeo and Juliet. More modern plays include A Streetcar Named Desire and A Raisin in the Sun. The first genre of literature is poetry. In this style of writing, words are arranged in a metrical pattern and often is rhymed verse. Another beloved genre of literature is folktale. Folktale, which is also referred to as a mythology, tells story of originally oral literature and are meant to pass on particular moral lessons. These tales often have a timeless quality, dealing with common concerns that are relevant despite the time period. So how many books genres are there? There are more books genres than you might think. There are upwards for 40 genres and even more if you count subgenres of the books. There are such a large number of book genres that we cannot cover them all in this slide. So we will cover 24 of them for you. They are crime, science fiction, sport, mystery, religion, chick flick, documentary, romance, silent, fantasy, war, horror, thriller, western, drama, adult, musical, animated, adventure, action, comedy. That being said, being familiar with most common can help to identify which book will fall under. Let's go into more detail with this and non-fiction book genres as well. Fantasy. Fantasy encompasses a huge part of book world. It's one of the most popular book genres out there, a personal favorite of mine to read. Fantasy is a genre that's identified by the use of magic within it. Overall, fantasy is a genre of possibility. You can write in a little magic like Jeanne Maurice's The Savior's Champion, or you can write a book where magic is forefront of the plot like with Rowling's Harry Potter. To take this a step further, let's look at the different categories within this genre that has more specific characteristics. Young adult fantasy genre is typically meant for readers between the ages of 13 to 17. However, adults enjoy this category of writing just as much as teens. One thing to keep in mind when writing young adult fantasy is that the themes and messages within the literature will often revolve around teen-aged problems like coming of age and exploration of identity. Adult fantasy genre. When you think of adult fantasy, think Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings versus Harry Potter or Children of Blood and Bone. The main plots of themes in adult fantasy will likely revolve around more grown issues like the difference between right and wrong, death, adult relationship, and more. Next genre is adventure. Adventure fiction is a genre of fiction that usually presents danger or gives the reader a sense of excitement. Writing a novel in the adventure category will require a trip, journey, or quest of some kind of overall plot. Your average adventure novel often focuses on both the characters of physical journey as well as the journey they go through as a person throughout the novel. Next genre is romance. Romance authors have one specific goal when it comes to their books: to make you fall in love with the characters just as much as the characters fall in love with each other. In this book genre, the romance is the center point of the plot. The entire novel moves around the relationship, so the other plot points may be present. A classic example of romance novel is The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. Romance can also be used as a subplot in many novels and is in fact used quite often as a complementary element in books. When romance is used as a subplot, the main plot doesn't have to do with the relationship, but rather is something completely different. The romance simply adds to the plot in order to increase conflict or intrigue. We've all heard of the mystery book genres. It's an extremely popular genre, and for a good reason. Many other genres can have mysteries within them, but what makes a good a book specific to this genre is the fact that the mystery is the main plot and point of the book. This book genre is defined by the plot focusing on solving a mystery, most often with a mystery impacting the main character to the point where they're the ones involved in solving it. Next genre is horror. Horror novels are characterized by the fact that the main plot revolves around something scary and terrifying. Oftentimes you can find the horror and thriller describe the same book. We'll touch more on why thriller are not always horror novels in the next slide. Next genre is thriller. This book genre most often deals with danger and dread instead, with a high emotional impact involving fear. Thriller generally keeps the audience on the edge of their seats as the plot builds towards climax. The cover-up of important information is a common element. Literary devices such as red herrings, plot twists, and cliffhangers are used extensively. A thriller is usually a villain-driven plot whereby they present obstacles that the protagonist must overcome. Thriller provides such as a rich literary feast. There are all kinds: the legal thriller, spy thriller, action adventure thriller, medical thriller, police thriller, romantic thriller, historical thriller, political thriller, religious thriller, high-tech thriller, military thriller. The list goes on and on, with new variations constantly being invented. In fact, the openness to expansion is one of the genre's most enduring characteristics. Next genre is historical fiction. This book genre is exactly as it sounds, fictional stories that takes place in the past. Usually historical fiction centers around known events or problems that takes place in a time significantly prior to the present. Next one is a science fiction. Sci-fi is among the most popular book genres there is, with movie adaptations like Star Wars and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This genre has exploded and is abandoned in the book world. This is another genre that I can add to another, like with sci-fi fantasy, which would include a futuristic world with advanced technology and some sort of fantastical being or magic. This is the end of the lesson. I hope you have enjoyed the lesson. See you next lessons. Goodbye.